Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
Good morning. This is Bonnie Mathias with the Workers Beat.
And I'm Gene Lantz.
All right. And here we are. It's Saturday morning.
You can call us at 972-647-1893. Today, they're going to protest Monsanto. This is worldwide.
I know.
And, I talked to some people, and they didn't know why they were protesting. But the reason they're protesting, I found out online this morning, is that there's a bill in Congress, I think it's already passed, called the Protect Monsanto bill.
Yes.
And so that Monsanto, the chemical company, can do anything they want and they won't get sued for it.
Genetically modified crops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about all that. But the idea that there's a chemical company that's so powerful that it can get a bill passed in Congress that nobody can sue them, that's going a little too far, I think.
Yeah.
So the protests today are at 1 o'clock. There's one in Fort Worth. There's one in Dallas. The one in Dallas meets at City Hall at 1 o'clock. City Hall is at 1500 Marilla Street. They will go down to the farmers market because that's where the crops are sold, and they'll use this opportunity to share with fellow citizens. Then they'll circle back up to the City Hall to complete the event. Now, the one in Fort Worth, Bonnie, do you know where they start? I know it's a park. Is there an Oak Leaf Park or something like that?
Maybe.
It's a park in Fort Worth. Somebody call us at 972-647-1893.
Yes, and it is a worldwide. I mean, I've seen it all over Facebook for the last couple of days.
I think they're marching in Waco, too, in Austin. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure they are because I saw an article from somebody that lives in what they call the mid Central Texas, somewhere around Waco.
Okay.
So there's going to be marches everywhere against Monsanto. Very controversial because, first of all, they came up with a way to feed the world. The Green Revolution is what we used to call it back in the 60s. They were working then on some way to get food for everybody and, to increase crop yield so well that they would have food for everybody. Well, they invented it.
Yeah.
They found a way to get food for everybody. And then they said, you have to pay us.
now you have to pay us.
Yeah.
Because we came up with a way to feed everybody.
And they had to pay them big time, too. In the Supreme Court, a farmer just lost a lawsuit. He wanted to replant some of the leftover seeds from the previous year, And the Supreme Court said, no, you have to pay Monsanto. So Monsanto is the target, and there's worldwide demonstrations today. Tonight at the Mecca restaurant will be the forum. What is it that they call that? The College of Complexes.
College of Complexes, yeah.
That is an odd name.
You've spoke there, haven't you?
Well, I'm an odd speaker.
Well, so there is that.
It's an odd thing. That takes place at 5815 Live Oak Street tonight at 6:30. That's every Saturday.
I
guess we could start mentioning that every Saturday. Tom Berry and Susan Duarte kind of run that, and they are really nice people. And it's a worthwhile, very educational. It's not always just one side or the other. I mean, they take both sides and things. The big deal that I'm working on, Bonnie, is the June 1st.
Yay.
Walmart workers, we think they're going to go on strike.
Woo!
And around the country, people are doing stuff at the end of May and on June the 1st in support of the Walmart workers. And then they are traveling to Arkansas.
Right.
Because Walmart's going to have its board of directors meeting in Bentonville, as usual. And so the Walmart workers are going to go down and say, hey, how about us?
Right. I made a contribution to the Our Walmart folks to help bring a couple of people over from Bangladesh.
You did?
Yes.
Those are the people that were in the apparel plant that fell apart?
Right. And they, part of that plant was making stuff for Walmart.
Are those Bangladesh people going to come here, you think?
Yes, that's the plan.
They'll come to Dallas. Well, that'll be something.
They're trying to raise, I think it's going to cost $8,700 to.
And we can thank Bonnie Mathias for chipping in.
A small contribution.
Well, I tell people all the time that I got Nelson Mandela out of jail. And, my contribution was small.
That's right.
But I was on the right side.
There you go.
And I stopped the war in Vietnam. I was on the right side of that, and a whole bunch of things that I can list on and on.
Exactly.
That maybe I didn't actually do it by myself.
But
maybe
you were part of the solution.
Maybe my contribution wasn't decisive, but I knew which side I was on.
That's right.
And that's what we ask everybody to do that's listening. Call in at 972-647-1893 if you're interested.
You need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Right. The event next week, next Saturday, we don't actually know because this is tactical business. The generals have to decide the tactics. We are going to meet, though, at a Kroger store on I-35 in Desoto. And let's see if I have the exact address. It's 500 something I-35 in Desoto. So there's probably only one Kroger on I-35.
I'm thinking.
In Desoto. So that's where we're going to meet and get together, and then we'll do whatever it is that they want to do.
That's right.
I'm assured that nobody's going to get arrested or anything, so just come on down and we'll probably have a picket or a rally or, I don't know, a barbecue or something. If you want to support the Walmart workers, get on down there to the Kroger's in DeSoto on I-35 at 1 o'clock.
1:30.
1:30.
1:30.
Next Saturday.
That's right.
June the 1st.
June 1st.
Mm-hmm. And we had a very nice meeting about this yesterday, and about 33 people came. I was very, very impressed. A lot of the people were minorities. We call people minorities now. They're the majority.
Right. You and I would be the
Mexican Americans and African Americans. But they were out in force just to talk about how we can support the Walmart people.
Awesome.
One of the ways that I've been working on is putting videos on YouTube.
Right, on YouTube.
I got videos of people standing up and saying, I support the Walmart workers.
Like important people.
Well, some of them are important.
Linda
They're all
Chavez,
important.
Well, right.
But some of them have got names that you recognize.
Linda Chavez Thompson.
Yeah, she's done one.
Did Eddie Bernice Johnson do one?
I've never asked her. Never got a chance to ask her. She's really busy, but I'm sure she would.
I'll bet she would too.
Yesterday we got Beth Villarreal.
Constable.
Constable Beth Villarreal. She was very popular down Oak Cliff and Pleasant Grove.
Very nice lady.
And she was wearing her shiny uniform with all the brass buttons and everything. And she said that she passionately supports the rights of the Walmart workers.
Awesome.
Also, Silvana Alonso made a video, very nice video. Johnny Rodriguez, who's the president of UFCW 540. I ought to stop and talk about him for a minute because I'm pretty impressed with his union, which came from being flat broke when he first got in charge to becoming one of the outstanding unions in Texas, and certainly in the sense of reaching out to the rest of the community. They're very, very important. Johnny is a vice president of LACLA, the Labor Committee for Latin American Advancement, and they meet over there with UFCW. And I remember back during the Vietnam War when we were doing demonstrations all the time, and everybody was always trying to get a union endorsement, and you couldn't get one because the AFL-CIO was dead set in favor of the war.
Really?
Oh yes, they were, and they were among the last people to give up endorsing the war in Vietnam. I mean, even after Nixon gave it up, the AFL-CIO was still supporting it. Wow. Back in those days, that was that AFL-CIO, not the present labor movement. But anyway, there was only one union that you could find, and it was a guy named Jerry Gordon. I never met him, but he was vice president of the Meat Cutters Union. And back in those, that was before they formed the United Food and Commercial Workers. It was the meat cutters and the retail clerks that went together and formed that union.
Wow.
And Jerry Gordon was a meat cutter, and he was the only one I ever saw endorse these the many demonstrations that we had against the war in Vietnam. So I've always been kind of an admirer of the United Food and Commercial Workers, and particularly of Johnny Rodriguez. And I'm going to try to get him on this show.
That would be great.
Yeah, it would be important to have him because he can talk about Walmart. He can also talk about connections between the community and unions, because he is all for that. And they got a new hall. They had a nice hall out in out on Garland Highway, but they got a much better hall, and it's nearly all the way to Addison. It's just barely in Dallas.
I know it was quite a ways up north.
But Johnny showed me through it yesterday, and I was very impressed with the way they designed the building to be right for unions.
Great.
Like there are all kinds of places for small groups to meet. And these small groups, like the little community groups, or Jobs with Justice, or LACLA, or CLU, Coalition of Labor Union Women, could go there, have a coffee pot and have their little planning sessions and stuff like that. Then, of course, there's a big auditorium for major meetings. The boardroom was the most impressive one that I ever saw. It's 25 seats.
Wow.
For a conference room.
Wow.
Is this somebody that's online? I didn't get it. Right, I got the note, but what's...
Okay, I get my bad handwriting, I'm sorry. At Crossroads, the caller called in. He said he rode with you. He said the crazy guy. And it says it was at the Pleasant Run and...
Pleasant Run exit.
Okay,
on
that's
I-35.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just barely outside of the loop. You go outside...
I think it's the
635.
first or the second exit.
Yeah, and you see Pleasant Run, and there's a Kroger's there. It's on the right, as I recall.
I believe so.
And that's just where we're going to rendezvous. We're not picketing Kroger's.
No.
Kroger's a pretty good union organization, or so I'm told. But at the Pleasant Run exit, that guy didn't want to get online? I wish some Walmart supporters would call 972-647-1893 and give us their views. We made the point yesterday, in fact Johnny Rodriguez made the point, that we cannot win just by counting on Walmart workers.
Right.
We can't just say, you guys fight this fight, we're going to stand here with our hands in our pockets and let you guys suffer and go through all the fearsome confrontations with the biggest employer in the world, and we'll stand by to accept the benefits.
Yeah, we'll just hang out.
We can't do that.
No. I like being up front with these people, because they're all so passionate about what they're not asking for a lot. They just want respect in the workplace. And I don't believe that's too much to ask for any employer.
Yeah.
And they deserve it. I mean, these folks work so hard. And of course, the Walmart model, that takes them down to part-time hours where they can't afford the benefits that Walmart offers, and they end up on public assistance.
That's true. And also, Walmart didn't kick in on our fund drive.
I know.
I guess if they had it, I wonder what we'd be talking about now.
And Alice, she lives pretty close. She probably can
right
hear
on the other side of Fort Worth. I'm sure she's listening.
I'm sure she is.
Alice, do what you can
we need your
for the
help.
people that work for you.
Yes.
There's hundreds of thousands of them worldwide.
Yeah.
One of the things that Johnny Rodriguez announced is that in Brazil, where he just got back from Brazil, in Brazil they're all organized.
They're all organized in all other countries except for this one.
Well, this one in Mexico.
And
I
Mexico,
think.
Yeah.
Places where they can get away with it, they don't have unions, but in places where working people stand together, and apparently that includes Brazil, they're all organized, and I suppose they must be making a much better living.
I would hope.
I'm sure they're not in terror all the time the way regular Walmart workers are, because you see, they don't know if they have a job next week or not. They're more or less part-time workers, and they can, here in Texas, they can be fired anytime. They could just, they could come in to work in the morning and just be told, we don't need you anymore.
Yep.
Go on home. In fact, they've been cutting back on their workers. There's an article in today's paper saying that they cut back on the workers so hard that they can't get the shelves stocked. So what they're going to do is they're going to penalize the managers if they don't have the shelves stocked, but they can't get them stocked because they already laid off all the people. That's Walmart for you.
Boy, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, buddy.
So Walmart's organized in other countries and not here, and that says something not just bad about them. It says something bad about us, doesn't it?
A lot. It says something really bad about the United States.
972-647-1893. We love it when you call.
Yes, we do.
KNON, the voice of the people. The station actually wants you to call.
That's right. I even have my KNON Voice of the People T-shirt on today.
That is great, and it's just solid red.
Solid red. Yep. I like this one.
I got mine out to wear, and I decided I'd just stay with this long sleeves because I'm riding my bicycle
Oh,
today.
yeah, it's a little cooler this morning, a little humid.
Yeah, and it also keeps the sun off my arms.
Yes.
Anyway, the Walmart workers, our stake in this is that the Walmart model is being used to bring down everybody's wages.
Everybody.
And if you want to have good wages, if you want to have decent hours, if you want to have a decent standard of living in America, then you have to fight where you can fight. So thank goodness we have the courageous young workers at Walmart who are willing to lead the fight. And so if we don't get in it, shame on us.
That's right. Everybody should be involved. It doesn't matter whether you're a union member. If you're just a worker or even a retiree, you need to be involved. You need to get up, get out, and get involved.
Yeah, and it doesn't have anything to do with how you feel about, for example, Alice Walmart.
No.
I'm sure she's a fine, upstanding
I'm
church
sure
member.
she is. She's.
And it doesn't have anything to do with how you feel about your local store or your
No.
local manager or
I'm
anything
sure
like that.
some
It's a
folks like
question of whether or not you stand by the workers in America.
We have to do the right thing. I mean, that's it.
The workers in America are threatened by the Walmart model. We're going down. Everybody knows that wages have been falling since the early 70s. And our standard of living, which used to be the best in the world, is now 14th or 15th, something like
Wow.
that. And falling, getting worse, because American working people are not standing up and fighting the way we ought to be doing. I'm not trying to cuss people out or something. I'm just trying to say that if you want a better standard of living, you have to stand up.
Yeah, if you wanted to change something, if you're not happy about something, you can't just sit back and expect somebody else to do it.
And we should be extremely grateful to the Walmart workers for
Yes.
taking this on. You know, it would have been a lot easier for somebody else to do it.
Right.
Some computer programmers or something like that, you know, where they're making a pretty good living and where they can transfer to some other company if they need to.
Yeah.
Something where they're not really that afraid of getting laid off or fired. But the Walmart workers have got their backs to the wall, and they are the ones putting out the energy now and making it possible for all of us to unite in the battle.
Fighting back.
So call us at 972-647 and give us your opinion. We'll be right back.
I got to work this morning. Something seemed kind of strange. My buddy Joe was missing. There's a machine sitting in his place. I turned around and
KNON thanks you for your pledge to our recent pledge drive. Now is the time to make your pledge count. Send your pledge to KNON's P.O. Box 710909, Dallas, Texas 75371. If you missed our pledge drive, you can still support community radio by pledging on the web at knon.org. Your pledge only counts if you pay it. That's KNON, Box 710909, Dallas, Texas 75371. Be sure to put the name of the show you are supporting on the check, money order, or the envelope. Questions about KNON Pledge Drive? Call 214-828-9500, extension 234.
When they're gone for good. This is Scott from KNON's Texas Blues Radio telling you don't miss out on some great blues. KNON's Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. It's a CD put together by real blues fans for real blues fans like you. Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 features great local blues from Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, JJ and the Detonators, the Chris Watson Band, the Two Tones, Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone with Charlie Love, Dave Millsap, Sirloin and the Ass Kicking Machine, Tutu Jones, Blues Boy Bo, Buddy Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, and Johnny Red and the Roosters. Get a copy now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records. This is a Dallas Blues collector's item. A very limited amount of vinyl copies can be found at Forever Young Records, the sponsor of this great blues project. CD downloads are available at cdbaby.com. Whether you get it as a download, on vinyl, or on CD, all the proceeds will benefit KNON. For more info on Texas Blues Radio Volume 5, visit knon.org.
Blue Monday.
Hey, Blue Monday. We're back with Fats Domino. I didn't finish the phone number a while ago. It's 1848.
1893.
1893.
How long have you been here?
Thank you, Bonnie. I'm having a senior month. This is senior month, by the way.
It is senior month.
May is senior month.
May is senior month.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Well,
we fit right in there.
See if I can do the whole phone number. 972-647-1893.
All right. There you go.
So
there
call
you
us
go.
if you have an opinion. Here's what's going on with Walmart. On June the 1st, our Walmart members from across... Can you say our Walmart three times without...
No.
Our Walmart member from across the country will take a stand against poverty, wages, and poor working conditions. The first move will be going on an unfair labor practices strike. They will then travel to Dallas, Texas, and have a rally before beginning a pilgrimage to Bentonville. That's in Arkansas. Walmart's home office, where the annual shareholders meeting will be taking place. This will be a week full of action. I don't know if people realize it, but Walmart workers are actually going to strike for a week. They're going to go out on June 1st, yeah, and stay out for a week. Now, there won't be a lot of them do that. They're not set up for it. It's not like a nationwide strike where everybody's walking out. This is targeted. It'll probably just one or two stores. I don't know how they're going to do it. But anyway, they're going to actually go to Arkansas and spend the week talking to the shareholders. A bunch of stuff is going on in the state legislature. Oh. I was hoping it would be over last night, but they're going through the weekend.
Are they?
And everybody's got their fingers and toes crossed that there will be no special session. If they don't get the budget settled, then there will be a special session, and that is murder for the progressive forces. The reason is because of the governor. Governor Rick Perry, one of the most wrong-headed, most right-wing, most fanatical anti-worker politicians in America, will have a lot of say-so over any special sessions. He sets the agenda.
Yep.
Because see, when the governor calls a special session, he says you're going to discuss this, this, and this, but nothing else.
That's right.
So the governor sets the agenda, and so nobody on the progressive side, none of us on the working people's side, wants to see a special session. So we're hoping that they get this thing closed down. We were hoping it would be done last night, but now it looks like they're going to go through the weekend. Some of the things that they are working on that are really, really scary, they want the right for themselves and themselves only to be able to carry guns anywhere. So they already have liberalized gun carrying around Texas, and but there are still certain places where there's signs, that say don't bring a gun in here. I think church is one, bars where they sell places they sell alcohol. Certain government buildings, they say you can't bring a gun in here. Well, the legislators are trying to exempt themselves so they can bring their guns anywhere that they want to. I have been expecting a shootout in the Texas Capitol.
Oh God.
For some time, and I don't know why it hasn't happened. I think they're just plain lucky.
I think so too, because it's legal to carry concealed.
No, not just legal. It's encouraged. It's encouraged to carry a gun in the state capitol. And the fact that they haven't had a shootout yet is just really, really
It's
good
shocking,
and really, really
honey.
lucky.
Yeah, I think we're very lucky. That
All
it
they
hasn't
can
happened.
talk about, and really I think the one thing that they have actually accomplished is that they're going to drug test working people who are out of a job. So if you're out of a job, you're down on your luck, and the world just looks as bad as it can get, you haven't thought about the Texas legislature yet, because the Texas legislature can always make it worse. Mm-hmm. So now they're going to drug test unemployed people, and they want to...
If they're applying for a job that requires, or if they came out of a job that
Yeah, there's some discretion
there's
on it.
There's some stipulations.
It's not they're not necessarily going to drug test everybody.
Everybody, right?
But I have a pretty good notion that since they're the ones that running the show,
there you go.
If they don't like you, they're going to drug test you. You don't have any say so about it one way or the other, and they want to drug test everybody. The poorest people, the ones that get food stamps, they want to drug test them too, and so just something to make it worse.
Yeah, we know you're already.
People.
You know, we know you're already in dire need. You're on food stamps and other types of public assistance. So we just want to humiliate you just a little bit more.
Try to make it as bad as you can. That seems to be the mantra for a lot of the politicians. Although I want to give credit to this one Republican state legislator who wrote an op-ed in the morning news. I think it was on Wednesday. He said that too many of the young freshmen, and he was talking about his own political party, are just listening to the right-wing think tanks and not listening to their constituents, and consequently not really voting to represent people. And I thought I kind of appreciated his having said that. So not all politicians are bad. Which brings me to Joe Barton. Congressman Joe Barton.
And he is that bad.
Congressman Joe Barton had the very best record of any Texas Republican congressman for seniors. They came out with their list of how people voted. And like, for example, Eddie Bernice Johnson got 100%. They had 10 votes that they were checking on. She voted correctly on all 10 of them. Now, if you didn't vote at all, I think you get 5%. If you didn't vote on one of them, you get a 5% record. If you voted correctly on one of them, you get a 10% record. And Joe Barton led the pack for all Texas Republicans with a 30% record. He voted right 3 times out of 10 for seniors. And
isn't he a senior?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. But rich seniors
that's right. It's
and poor seniors are not exactly the same. The rich are not like us, F. Scott Fitzgerald used to say.
I forget.
So he had a 30% record for the last session and a 7% record for his whole lifetime voting average for seniors. And that was the best of any Texas Republican congressperson. And of course it was worse than any of the Democrats.
That's horrible.
I'm not here to endorse Democrats, but the list of who voted what, the lowest that any Democrat got was 70%. And the highest, of course, most of them did get 100%.
That's excellent.
Congresswoman Johnson from North Texas got 100%. And I'll bet you that next year when we do this, Congressman Mark Vesey will also get 100%.
Yep.
But they have this long list. And they put it out last week, did a press conference. The rest of the session, of the legislative session, we need to get an expert to come in and do an analysis, because my understanding, Bonnie, is that it was not the worst they've ever been. It seems like it sometimes when you read what they're doing and what they are trying to do. Yeah, all the anti-labor bills, for example, there were hundreds of bills to hamper the right to organize and
thank you, Tan Parker,
and to stop the talk about that one.
Tan Parker, this is the second session.
From Flower Mound.
This is the second session that he has introduced a bill to disallow union dues to come out of your paycheck.
So he wants to stop.
He wants to stop union dues coming out of your check.
Yeah, well, he's got other bills too.
Oh my goodness.
They're all anti-union.
He is just a piece of work, I'll tell you.
They're all union, and they're all anti-union. Yeah. And I was really brought up short when I realized that Hitler was also anti-union, and that his the first thing that they did as the Nazis took over Germany was to get rid of the unions.
The trade unions, yeah.
So you can count a whole bunch of Texas legislators in that same vein. That they have that in common with Adolf Hitler from Germany.
We have some work to do in 2014, folks. And 2016 as well.
In the elections, we need to get working people out and get them to vote like working people.
Yes.
Instead of voting for their own enemies. Well, anyway, the Texas legislature is coming to an end, and would really like to have your opinions on what they have done or what they have not done. It is my understanding that what they did to public employees' pension funds was not nearly as bad as what they intended, what they started off with. So,
could have been worse.
Yeah, the public employees are not complaining because they say that it's not nearly as bad as what we were afraid they were going to do. I don't have any numbers or any explanations for that, but teachers and other public employees are not that unhappy with what they did with the pensions. Although the idea of restoring the money that they stole from the kids of Texas last session, they didn't do it.
No.
They restored quite a bit. I think it's in the area of $3.9 billion. But they took
5.4.
Yeah, but that was in the last session.
Yeah.
So they restored some of it, and they think they're heroes for that.
Jesus.
But the truth is that Texas children are going to continue to get short shrift.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're trying to pass a bill that charter schools can take over public schools pretty much at will. Unfortunately, Senator Royce West seems to be as part of that.
I'm very frustrated with him once again. You know, he's on the education committee.
Yes.
And you know, last session, I was very angry, and he kind of got angry with us as well because we were in his face.
Well, the teachers are not happy about this.
But why aren't they up? Why aren't they screaming as loud? Why aren't they here? Why aren't they calling in saying, "You can't do this to our children"? Why?
Every session for the last several sessions, we've seen the Texas legislature encouraging private schools, encouraging vouchers, encouraging charter schools, even though the statistics show that it's not helping the kids.
None.
That the charter schools don't even measure up to the public schools.
That's right.
And they keep cutting the public schools and saying, well, they're not doing a good job, and then cutting them.
Yeah.
So how are they going to do a good job? They don't have any money.
It's impossible.
And they've been doing this for many, many sessions now, at least since '96 when Republicans took over all statewide offices in Texas. The last time I remember something good happening was when Ross Perot wrote some educational reform, and they had a Democratic governor at that time. His name was White, and they put in some reforms that were pretty good, especially the ones that limited the class size for little kids.
Yes.
So you couldn't just throw 35 kids in there and stack them like cordwood and say, okay, now everybody
deal with it.
Everybody learned something.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to overcome that now and having larger class size around Texas and laying off teachers. And that's the way it's been. They didn't go further, at least.
Well,
this last session, we can be thankful that the Texas legislature did not go further than the one that preceded them. And I guess we should be grateful.
I mean, thank God for small favors, I guess. But it's you know, it's so ineffective to continue to pull money out of the education system and expect us to raise graduation rates and keep kids out of trouble.
Yeah. Give the phone number, Bonnie. I'm afraid I'll mess it up.
972-647-1893. And we really do. We want to hear from you. If you think the legislature's doing a good job or did a good job, call us and tell us why you think that.
Or if you're not too crazy about it, too, you can say that.
You can say that, too.
More bad news.
Oh, God.
The old LTV plant on Jefferson Street, right at the western extreme of Dallas, is going to close. We're reasonably certain. That's my union. And the old LTV plant's been there since 1939.
Wow.
They organized it in 1943, got their first contract. They shut it down at the end of World War II, but then they opened it almost immediately again, or opened half of it as Timco. And then they opened the other half as Vought. And then they put the whole thing together with Garland and Greenville and made Ling Timco Vought, which went bankrupt and called it LTV. But anyway, the plant has been there and been producing airplanes and parts of airplanes and providing pretty good living for people in Grand Prairie and western Dallas,
Irving,
eastern Fort Worth and Arlington. It's been making a pretty good living for people since 1939, and it's fixing to go, folks. This is happening around the world, around the country, that jobs are being divided up, being sent overseas, being figuring out some way for the bosses to not pay us. And that's another victim coming up, is the old LTV plant on Jefferson Street.
And all these people with all these skills, what are they going to do?
You know, I've met people who work out there, and their parents worked out there, and their grandparents worked out there, and they were practically raised in that union hall.
Sure.
I interviewed a guy on Halloween who had brought his kids to the scare house, the fun house, you know, that they set up every Halloween. And I said, you know, you seem kind of familiar to me. And he said, well, yeah, I'm one of the kids that went through this when you guys first set it up.
Wow.
We set that up in 1985 after a big, long struggle that we had. And we started scaring the children on Halloween.
That's great.
I think it kind of got out of hand.
No.
It was really scary.
It's a little...
I'm a little afraid to go through that scary
okay.
house.
Well, I'm glad you told me that, because I'm not going.
Well, anyway, the kids are bringing their kids to the same fun house now that they went through when they were little.
And you know, it's really sad that we're looking at the future. They're not going to have that opportunity unless we all stand up and stop what's happening.
And people have a way of confusing the place they work with something that they have an investment in. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, we don't do this, or our company is doing this or that. And they feel that, you know, rightfully so,
that it's a part of you.
They put their whole life into
absolutely.
it, and they feel that they have some ownership stake in it. Mm-hmm. And then to find out that it's really some banker that's just writing a piece of paper and handed it to some other banker.
That's right, and they don't care
making
about
all the
you.
decisions, and you're the last thing they think of.
That's it.
That's what's happening with the old LTV plant, and there may be a fight over it. There may be a lot that people can do. I don't know. Call us at 972-647-1893. Let us know what you think. Bonnie and I are not the generals. We don't expect to be running things.
Now, if we did,
yeah,
things would be different.
Yeah.
But we don't.
Vote for us for something or another.
That's right.
But we're not even running. We're not even in the running.
No.
So you are. It's up to you. 972-647-1893 is the number. Call and give us your opinion. See what you think about all the stuff that's happening. We're going to take a break. Be right back.
Tell you all a story that's close to me. A worker who's leaning on a bended knee, soiled and tattered in search of relief, fighting for some unspoken belief.
I don't.
Recycle Revolution's second annual Earth Day after party with live music from local bands including All Lit Up, Beer Gnomes, Dallas Drum D-Jam, and more, along with artists, a ping pong tournament, recycling and waste themed movies, an aquaponics display, interactive vendors, local crafts, tours of the Recycle Revolution facility, children's upcycling workshops, local beer and food. It's an all-day, all-night event starting at 12 noon. Recycle Revolution is located at 1703 Chestnut Street in Dallas. For more information, recyclerevolutiondallas.com.
I wake up in the morning at 4:45. The alarm clock is relentless, for goodness sakes alive. Back to the old barnyard, the Monday morning grind. If the boss
We're back on the Workers Beat. Gene Lantz and Bonnie Mathias. Bonnie's union is the Communication Workers of America. We always like to try to keep up with that.
Yes.
Nearly 100,000 unionized SBC Communications Incorporated workers began a 4-day strike to protest the phone giants. No, this is not happening now.
No, it was.
This is in 2004.
2004, that's right.
And in 1895, on May the 22nd, Eugene Victor Debs was imprisoned in Woodstock, Illinois, for his role in the Pullman strike. They really found a way. They nearly always do find a way to make what we do illegal. What happened was that the trainmen were on strike around the country over the treatment of the Pullman workers, because George Pullman was he's famous, but he was a terrible employer.
It was awful.
And he treated people something awful. So there was a strike, and Eugene Victor Debs was the head of it, because he had started the American Railway Union. And he didn't really want to strike because he said, we're not really ready. But the Pullman workers just insisted, and so they did the strike. They were getting away with it, and it was working okay. But then the Pullman started putting a mail car on every train. So every time you stopped a train, you were stopping the mail. So it was interfering with the U.S. mail. And so they they broke the union over it and put Eugene Victor Debs in prison. The locomotive workers were really trying to have one union for all of the trainmen, and they've never accomplished that. You still have all these different brotherhoods. Some of them have merged, but mostly they haven't really come together. One of them will go on strike, and the rest of them will scab. And so the railroad workers have not been able to pull it together ever since the Pullman strike in 1895. I get a bunch of stuff about things that happened in the past in the week that we're talking about. And the Battle of Toledo began on May the 23rd in 1934. Now the Battle of Toledo set off all the fights that we're famous for, we say the 30s. See, this really didn't happen from 1930 to 1934. Mostly all that people did was organize the unemployed, because there was so many, the Depression was so awful. But things began to pick up a little bit in 1934, and that set off a wave of strikes around the country that organized things. And Toledo, I think, was the first one. This was a 5-day running battle between roughly 6,000 strikers at the Electric Auto Light Company of Toledo, Ohio, and 1,300 members of the Ohio National Guard. 2 strikers died, and more than 200 were injured. The battle began in the 6th week of what ultimately became a successful 2-month fight for union recognition and higher pay. One guardsman told a reporter, quote, "Our high school graduation is tonight, and we were supposed to be getting our diplomas. Instead, they were fighting in the streets." And of course, the workers were fighting with sticks and rocks.
Yeah.
The National Guard was fighting with rifles and bayonets. That happened in 1934. Immediately after that, the big Teamsters strike in Minneapolis. Was this the auto light? Yeah, this was the auto light fight. And then the rubber workers, this was around 1935, the rubber workers pioneered a new method that they had copied from Europe. It was called the sit-in. And the sit-in, instead of going outside the plant and picketing, you just stayed in the plant.
At your workstation and sat down.
So the rubber workers pioneered this, and it succeeded because there really wasn't any laws covering it.
Right.
Sit-ins are now illegal. You can be sure
work
of that.
Stoppage.
Well, the work stoppage itself is not illegal. You can still walk off the job and not work.
Right.
American workers still have a protected right to do that, but you can't sit in the plant anymore. They'll get you on trespassing.
Yeah, I can.
And the sit-in was extremely effective from about 1935 through 1938. That's how they organized General Motors. They sat in the big plants in Flint, Michigan, and just said, we ain't leaving until we got a good contract, and it worked. So these big fights, starting with the Battle of Toledo, the Autolite strike, been running at least through 1938 when they organized General Motors. We had a labor fest last Saturday.
Yes.
And one of the people that spoke was Ed Cloutman, and came from a law firm that used to have Nat Wells. Nat Wells, when he was alive, was kind of the senior member of that law firm. And Nat Wells did a lawsuit that actually organized Ford.
Wow.
And it happened here in Dallas. It happened in East Dallas. This was explained to us by Dr. George Green, a history professor from the University of Texas at Arlington. Here's how it went down. Ford used to hire goons and thugs to beat up anybody that was interested in talking about the Union. There would be goons and thugs inside the plant, and then there would be outside the plant goons and thugs. And they would just hang around the Ford offices and then go out whenever they thought there was somebody interested in talking about the Union or something. They'd tar and feather them, or beat them up, or kill them, or anything. This was going on all over the country. By the way, I just noticed in the paper the other day that in the country of Argentina, they had arrested some thugs who were guilty of killing Union workers in the 1970s.
70s, yeah.
Yeah, they're old men now.
Right.
But in the 1970s, they were killing Union members, and guess what company they worked for? Ford Motor Company.
Oh my gosh, what do you know?
Yeah, so this tradition goes back a long way.
Old habits die hard.
So here in East Dallas, they had their usual gang of thugs that were beating people up, and they looked to take them to the river bottoms and whip up on them, and beat them with switches or something like that. And what happened, according to Dr. George Green, it's almost amusing, is that they completely defeated the Union here in East Dallas. There was no support. The newspaper was against them, the police was against them, and then they had these thugs. So the people had more or less given up on it, and Ford Motor Company, trying to save money, laid off the thugs. They said, well, we really don't need you right now.
How perfect.
Well, the thugs... This is all written. Nat Wells wrote this down, and you can get this from his son, Joe Wells, who's now the county treasurer of Dallas.
Right.
So Nat Wells wrote down that two of the thugs were a little irritated with having been laid off, and so they walked into the National Labor Relations Board and said, hey, we'd like to talk about what Ford Motor Company has been doing. In fact, we were the ones doing it. And so they reported.
For immunity, we'll give you all the stuff.
They did.
Yeah.
So Nat Wells just got a pencil and paper and started writing down everything that these hoodlums had done, and took this into a lawsuit against the Ford Motor Company for unfair labor practices. Ford lost the lawsuit. Nat Wells won the lawsuit, and part of the judgment was that Ford had to let the United Auto Workers come in and organize Ford.
There you go.
It happened in Dallas. According to Dr. George Green, the workers at the East Dallas plant, where they were making Ford cars, were so astonished that they had no idea what to do, and they held an immediate union election, but they elected managers to lead the union because they really had no idea how to do anything. But thank goodness Nat Wells did know what to do.
Their heart was in the right place.
And they won the battle to organize Ford through a lawsuit, through the federal government.
Wow.
And Nat Wells was the hero of that lawsuit. The Hero of Labor Award, which is presented by the Dallas AFL-CIO every year, the first recipient was Nat Wells.
Wow, cool.
So he lived long enough to be honored for his great role in organizing and helping working people in the Dallas area. So that's the story that George Green told about the organizing of Ford and how it took place here in Dallas. They also had Max Krochna on. He's a labor historian from Texas Christian University in Fort Worth.
That's right. Yeah.
And he talked about the 50s, the labor movement in the 50s coming out of Dallas. And I happen to know this is true because I've interviewed Roy Evans myself several times. Roy Evans was the president of my local, which at that time was called UAW 893 at Vaught. And Roy Evans went on to become the president of the state CIO. Then when the CIO and the AFL joined together, and I think this was in 55 or so, he became the principal officer of the Texas AFL-CIO. Now, during this period, the AFL-CIO joined with the civil rights movement and was quite influential in turning the Democratic Party away from its old racist practices. Now, the Democratic Party was the party of slavery during and after the Civil War. That's the reason that Abraham Lincoln got elected and why the Republican Party got started, was because the Democrats were clinging to slavery, and they were the party of slavery, and they stayed that way. Pretty here in Texas, anti-civil rights right up until the 70s. But during the 50s and 60s, the AFL-CIO, according to Max Krochna, was heavily involved in the civil rights movement and made big contributions to turning the Democratic Party around from being reactionary on race questions to being positive on race questions. And so I was very pleased to have heard that. I knew it was true because I knew Roy Evans, and he was really a great man.
It was a very good afternoon, I got to tell you. We had hot links and sausage on a stick and chips and sodas and water, and we had music.
No beer.
No beer.
I expected beer, but there was no beer.
I expected beer, too. I think quite a few people expected beer. But it was a good family event. It really was. And kid, you listen to what these guys say, and we had some musicians that came and sang and played, and it was really a very interesting afternoon.
I thought so too. Not only was it educational, which was really my favorite part, but they also had quite a bit of music and chance to sing along and just kind of enjoy the culture of working people. Working people are originally, working people had picnics.
Yep.
And they were picnics on May the 1st quite a lot. That's how the working people basically got organized, was around picnics and cookouts. And they still do that kind of thing, and it's wonderful that they do. I was talking to Brenda Warner yesterday, and she wants to hold a fish fry at her union hall.
Oh, really?
And I said, why not? They'll let the Texas Alliance for Retired Americans use it. And those cookouts that's our tradition. That's how we get things done.
That's right.
So
we had the building trades held a fish fry at my union hall a couple weeks ago, and it was well attended. Enjoyed it very much.
Was it a fundraiser, or was it just for fun?
I think it's just a thank you to local officials, and I don't believe it was a fundraiser, but it was really nice. We enjoyed it a lot. Enjoyed having Sheriff Lupe Valdez, several of the judges were there, Katie Hubner, Teresa Daniel, Judge Clay Jenkins. It was a good turnout. It was really fun.
Those are local county political leaders that are, they're not bad for working people.
That's right.
Lupe Valdez comes to most things that working people do, and I'm pretty proud of her.
You know that it's been 10 years since the Democrats left the state. Back 10 years ago, the Republicans were trying to gerrymander districts.
Yeah, they did.
And the Democrats left the state to keep them from doing that.
I went up there and interviewed them.
Did you? Well, we went.
They were in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
They were in Ardmore. That's right.
At a motel, and they said the food was terrible.
And the food was horrible.
They wanted people to bring food.
We had there was a party.
I think all they had was a Burger King.
That was it.
It was a Burger King.
There was a party.
Part of the motel was a Burger King.
Yep, and there was a party on Friday night in Austin to commemorate that event, and myself and Nancy Hall went, and it was great. It was
Lon
really
Burnham
great.
there?
Lon Burnham was there. He had the best time. He was just having a ball.
I'm so proud of him.
Yes.
He's a progressive activist, a community leader that's now a state legislator, and he hasn't forgotten us.
No, he has not.
He hasn't forgotten the people that he came from and he came with, and he does everything he can. He contacted me earlier this year and said that the Texas Alliance for Retired Americans could call on him when we need him.
Outstanding.
So he's been great. He's been on this radio program.
He's a Superman. He was headed up the Dallas Peace Center for many years.
And I don't see why he won't run for governor. Every time I see him, I say, why don't you run for governor while you're still young and good looking?
Right? Because he could. I'd vote for him in a heartbeat.
972-647-1893. You can tell us about your favorite politicians and who you look up to the most. We've been talking about some of the things that happened in the past, during the past week. The United Rubber Workers In 1995, 2,300 members of the United Rubber Workers went on strike for 10 months against 5 Bridgestone Firestone plants. They agreed to return to work without a contract. We got beat. They had been fighting demands for 12-hour shifts and wage increases tied to productivity gains, piecework in other words, and we lost. The rubber workers are no more. They joined the steel workers. They're part of the steel workers. But then we lost the Kelly Springfield plant out in Tyler. 5,000 jobs. Man. There have been some real tragedies since the 90s.
It's really scary. When I look at my union, my local, we used to have 8,000 members, and now we have 4,000. And it's, and
it's not because people are quitting the union.
No, it's not because people are quitting the union. It's
because the jobs are quitting America.
That's right. The jobs. And I was at my friend's house last night. We had a little trouble with the U-verse. And she called, and she got somebody in another country. And I just told her, I said, no, we want somebody in the United States, period. We're not talking to you. We're not going through the troubleshooting noise, nothing. And I believe that's what everybody should do. Demand to talk to someone in the United States.
I'm with you on that, Bonnie. Here's something else that happened on today as of 1932. May the 25th, 1932. Thousands of unemployed World War I veterans arrived in Washington, D.C. to demand early payment of a bonus that they had been told they would get. They had been told they would get it, but they weren't going to get it till 1945. And these were veterans.
And a bunch of them died before.
And they really needed it. They really needed it because of the Depression was so bad in 1932. They built a little shanty town out of cardboard and sticks near the U.S. Capitol. And guess what? The President Hoover sent his best generals, which included Eisenhower and MacArthur. MacArthur was in charge, Eisenhower helped, and they burnt the veterans out. They burnt their town down, drove them out with billy clubs and tear gas and whatever else they could think of, and drove the veterans out of Washington, D.C., the bonus marchers. It was a shameful day in American history. May the 25th, 1932.
We really need to be mindful. Folks, I see things from this government that we have from Congress. They would like to do the same types of things. They would like to make sure that anybody that disagrees with them and their opinions and their way of doing things, they want them eliminated.
It's true.
It's so much easier when the servants and the in the fiefdom are quiet and dumb and don't fight back.
We need to know where we came from and what we did.
Yes, we do.
On May the 26th, and this is in 1937, Ford Motor Company security guards attacked union organizers and supporters who were trying to distribute literature outside the plant in Dearborn, Michigan. They call it the Battle of the Overpass.
Battle of the Overpass, that's right.
Well, we're out of time. It's time to turn it over to Jim Schutz, award-winning author and best informed person in Dallas.
Yeah, that's him.
That's the guy. We'll be right. We'll be back next week with the Workers Beat. Thanks.
Thank you.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.